I've already done a video on Ananya Pandey's book recommendations, who's considered the dumbest Nepo baby, which I actually don't agree with. And I thought, let me look at the other end of the spectrum. Who's the smartest Nepo baby right now? And I think we can all agree that right now it's Navya Nanda. She has an Instagram page where she does talk about the books that she is reading. She's not very active and she does not tend to give a lot of her own personal views on these books. I think she has great potential of turning that into a book club. Navya, if you're not thinking about it, maybe you and I can do it together. I think constantly reading fiction has made me delusional. Anyway, you're not here to hear me blabber about Navya. You're here to hear me blabber about Navya Nanda's book recommendations. So let's get into it. First up, my family was very concerned seeing me read this because, need I say more? How to Kill Your Family. Honestly, I don't think it's Navya in that family who needs to read this. It's about Grace. She is an illegitimate child, and her biological father is very well off, but he never really supported her. He was never a father, he was never around, and never even gave financial support. So she feels very wronged by him and his entire family, and so she decides to kill all of his family members
one by one.
One of the reasons why people enjoy this book so much is because of its commentary. The narrator is very witty, very snarky. It feels like you're listening or you're reading the ramblings of your most sarcastic friend who's a little bit bitchy and also tends to exaggerate a little bit. So reading it was pretty fun. The way she planned all of these very interesting, creative, elaborate murders was so interesting to me, which is actually very alarming. I should not be enjoying that. I need help. And she also has this blatant disregard for a lot of people. The way she judges them is so funny. Or maybe I find it funny. And a lot of London references also. So if you've been to London, I think you might really enjoy this book. Let me read out a passage of how she thinks or judges people.
It took me a minute, my eyes searching for the clean-cut prince I'd seen in photos. But in this photo, he had a ponytail. And a large earring made out of a shell. Even Camden Market doesn't sell hippie cat like that anymore.
I don't know why I found it so funny. And there's also a lot of feminist commentary in this book. Again, let me read out a passage which I felt like, which is very, very true. So true, right? Sorry, my bookmark slipped out. It's a photo with my brother and my friend. Something that I didn't like about the book was that the chapters seemed just very, very long. Some details were just not needed. And by the end, like in the end, there's a huge twist, but I feel like the author prioritized a twist rather than a satisfying ending, and that is a complaint that I've also seen on Goodreads a lot. Yeah, I have very mixed reviews on this book. You might like it or you might not like it. If you're someone who enjoys very sarcastic humor, dark sense of humor, then yeah, you might like it. Otherwise, you can also skip it. I forgot to mention that if you want to buy any of the books that I mentioned in the video, you can go into my description box and find the Amazon link there. It's an affiliate link. I've recently started putting affiliate links only because I feel like it might help me support my channel and I'd be able to come here more often and talk to you guys about all of the books that we can all be reading together. Also, guys, do you feel like I should change my hair? I feel like my hair is always like this in every video. Maybe if you actually buy any of these books through my affiliate link, I would be able to afford like a nice blow dryer. Let's move on to the next one. Next up, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I've spoken about this book before on my channel. In fact, I've done like an entire video dedicated to the entire series. Didn't struggle at all. I loved reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's very fast paced, it has a lot of twists, and honestly, it is such a treat to read because it's also very visual. Like the book has these production logs, it also has maps. Let me see. There are emails. I'll upload like a proper shot of it. But yeah, very, very wonderful to read. I really, really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend you to read the entire series if you haven't already. But if you're not in the mood to read that many pages, you can also watch the Netflix series. I think the book to screen adaptation has been done really well. I loved the first part, I loved the second part. The third one I felt was a little too dragged out for my choice, but still, highly recommend. Navya, you and I like the same books. You and I are twins. I'm so delusional. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Everyone who's been very upset with me about having such a long gap between my last upload and this upload is all because of this book. Desperately Seeking Shah Rukh. It's a non-fiction, and oh my god, it was such a struggle to finish this book. The author has tried to encapsulate something very different or very complex, which is a modern Indian woman who's making her own money and searching for love. And when we talk about love in India, we have to talk about, I think, India's biggest romance icon, Shah Rukh Khan. So she's tried to, I think, in order to make the data more accessible or easy to understand, she picked Shah Rukh Khan as an icon. I just felt like the book was a bit too long and a bit too repetitive. And I'm not saying that because the book has a lot of information, data, statistics, which I'm okay with. Like, I've read Invisible Women and it has so much data. Women here in India really, really like Shah Rukh Khan because we feel like his movies speak to us. You know, in his movie there's love and yearning and affection and sincerity. You know, even when he's looking at a woman, there's a lot of love, affection, yearning in his eyes, vulnerability. And I was hoping that she would draw that kind of parallel between Shah Rukh Khan and other men of India. So I think the book promised you a character sketch of the love life of a modern Indian woman, but instead gives you a character sketch of a woman's survival here in India. There was a lot of data on education, patriarchy, salaries, class, all of that, which is very, very important. And it does hold a very pivotal role in how a woman thinks of love, thinks what kind of love she deserves, and marriage. But I just think that's not what I expected. I was hoping we would learn more about love versus arranged marriage or situationships or the male loneliness epidemic, you know, things that we don't know a lot about still. Instead, it just tells you stuff that you already know, that we know that men in India do not help you with household chores. We know that women who belong to the rich class, I don't even want to say upper middle, I mean the rich class, they don't prefer to work, mainly because people around them encourage them to run NGOs. Not that I'm not saying that running NGOs is not a noble cause. I'm just saying they're never given this opportunity to be in the corporate world or be a scientist or do something else. They're usually encouraged to do that won't be considered intensive, or they're encouraged to be socialites. So these women don't tend to work even when they have access to the best people, best resources, and oftentimes these women also have Ivy League degrees. We know that women who start earning or don't really listen to their parents or considered rebellious are not considered good marriage prospects. You know, these are the things that we already know. I was just hoping that the book would tell me a little bit more about things that we don't already know. So I think I was hoping to really connect with this book because I do feel like I'm the target audience for that. A modern Indian woman earning her own money and looking for love in the 21st century. And whenever I do think of romance, I do think of Shah Rukh Khan. And we want, like, the modern Indian woman wants a communicative, empathetic, sensitive, intelligent man who respects you and also desires you. And I just felt like I could not connect with this book at all. So I'm thinking, who is this book actually for, because like I said, we don't learn anything new here. I feel like the only time I kind of understood a modern Indian woman's take on love was when the author mentions anecdotes of women that she actually interviewed. I will say that the author was very sincere, but I don't know. I think I was looking for connection, maybe some fun, maybe answers to some questions. I was not expecting a World Bank report. Yeah, if you have any other book recommendations which speak about something similar, even if it's fiction, I don't mind. But please let me know in the comments, because I would love to know more about this topic. In fact, I'm planning on doing a full video on books that talk about love. So if you have any recommendations, please drop them. Okay, let's move to the next one.
Now we all know about Ramayan, but how many of us know about Sitayan? The Forest of Enchantments is the Ramayan, but from Sita's perspective. The central theme of the book is love. It's about how each situation, challenge, or circumstance changed what Sita thought about love. One thing that I really, really liked about this book was it just does not feature Ram and Sita and their time in exile, but it takes you to Sita's childhood, her years growing up, and her time in Lanka, because we don't get to hear about it at all, right? In the Ramayana, we only know about the battle that happened. And this book also features all of the other women that were in Ramayana and Sita's relationship with each of them, or what in general she thought about each of them. So Supankha, Kekai, Kaushalya, all of the other women that were a part of Ramayana. I've spoken about this book before on my channel, and one common critique that I always see, whether it's about the Forest of Enchantments or the Palace of Illusion, which is Draupadi's perspective on Mahabharata, is that, oh, this is not factually correct. Oh, this is not what happened. This is not what Draupadi had said. I think instead of focusing on the incident or the dialogue, I think we should focus on what these women were going through and their emotions. In the Forest of Enchantments, there are times when Sita feels very unloved. And one of the reasons why she feels unloved is that Ram sends her into exile even while she was pregnant. Let's focus on that. So, yes, Sita or Ram must have not said a particular dialogue, but the way something made Sita feel, that still stands, because any other woman in her position would feel unloved during those situations, or the hardships that she faced, or the fact that we're always told to stand by our partner. Some of these value systems have not changed in all these years. So, like I said, instead of focusing on what Sita said during Ramayana, or something that happened or did not happen, let's focus on what the author was trying to tell us. So yeah, let's focus on their journeys instead of focusing on ये नहीं बोला था, ये नहीं हुआ था. Also look at how gorgeous the cover is. Is my camera focusing? And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying my videos so far, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe already. It's absolutely free to subscribe. It tells YouTube that you're enjoying my channel, and it also gives me an opportunity to keep coming on here and keep giving you guys great book recommendations. Let's move on to the next one. If I had to add another 5-star book to my 2024 reading list, it's definitely Lessons in Chemistry. At the end of this book, of course, I cried. It's about Elizabeth Zott. She is a chemist. The setting is in the 1960s. She's a part of a research institute, and because of some reasons, she is forced to resign, or she's fired actually. And then she goes ahead and becomes an anchor on a cooking show, and she goes and explains how everything in cooking is also chemistry. Such a fun concept. Majorly, this book is about patriarchy and feminism and everything that Elizabeth had to go through in the 1960s. There are things like how women were never credited for their work, or during those times, women were always told that you're only good for marriage and babies. That's it. You're a housewife and you don't have any ambitions. And even if women worked during that time, it was usually a secretary, someone who would just type during meetings. The writing, I really enjoyed the way it was written. It's very zingy. There are a lot of other lovely supporting characters. It's not just about it. Of course, Elizabeth is your main character, but there's a dog that sometimes narrates the story, which is a choice. Story between Elizabeth and her lover, her boyfriend Calvin, is very cute. It's like two nerds just coming together and finding themselves in this world and that chemistry. I think it'll really touch your hearts. A lot of people mentioned that there was no person of color, and the book just feels very too feminist, or it just feels very typical. Everything that's written, everyone already knows about all of this. Regarding person of color, yeah, I did think that seems like everyone is white, but I feel like people should write about person of color only if they've done a lot of research and they can kind of understand their experiences, or someone who actually is a person of color. And in this case, the author is white, and I think it's okay. I think it's better. I think it's good that she kind of only wrote about things that she knows of or things that she feels, rather than writing about things that might feel inauthentic to people of color. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book, and it's soon gonna become a TV series, which I'm so excited about. One thing that I did not really enjoy was that the cooking show, that part does not start till like the mid of the book. And I was so excited about it and I wanted to know more about it. So yeah, one thing it just felt like I just felt like when is she gonna become the anchor? When is she gonna become the anchor? And honestly, if there is a chemist out there who's making food content, I would love to see that. So yeah, definitely recommend it, and it's a 5-star read from me, and I love the cover. One thing that I've noticed about the kind of books Navya gravitate towards is a good mix of fiction and non-fiction. Very a lot of business related books, because obviously she's an entrepreneur, and books around social impact, about women, feminism. All of the most of the fictional books that she, I think, reads are written by female authors. So I think she's very interested in the female experience, and she also works in that space, so I'm not surprised. So yeah, her reading list is a little predictable, but very it goes with her personality and the kind of things that interest her. I've been really enjoying reading everything that she's recommended. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. This non-fiction book, I don't see a lot of people recommend, and it's such a shame because it is such such an important book, I think, for everyone to read. It's called Invisible Women. I read that way back, I think, in 2021, 22. It basically has a lot of data on how the world has been designed by men. So, a lot of the things that are applicable to men are definitely not applicable to women. And men don't even notice that the things that they've created do not suit women, just because we literally live in different worlds, because everything has been designed by men. Now let me give you an example. A lot of machines that are used to detect heart attacks work very well for men but do not work well for women, because women were never really tested for those machines. So if I'm feeling some uneasiness and if I go and do those tests, that the result will not be accurate, because my sex was just never a part of the trials. Another is public transport. A lot of public transport throughout the world is designed by men, but actually it's women who use public transport more. So men drive and women catch the bus. Now, the public transport has been designed in a way that it's great if you just have to go from home, go to work, and go back home. But that's what men do. A lot of women go and drop their kids to school. They are looking after aging parents. They are probably going to some other house. They probably have to pick up groceries. Maybe they're doing one or two part-time jobs. So the route has not been designed thinking about people who are actually using public transport. Why? Because they were just never asked. Their commute was never discovered by these men, because, like I said, everything has been designed by men. Something as simple as seat belts. A lot of those dummies, their weight and height is somewhat of a mix between men and women, or majorly men. So a seatbelt that might be able to properly secure a man might not be able to secure a woman. A lot of women are not a part of drug trials because we have periods, and because of that our hormones keep changing. So they will constantly have to do tests with us to keep up with our hormones and get some kind of consistent results. So only because it is more complicated to have women in drug trials, they prefer not to have us. But we are still prescribed these drugs that have just been tested on men. This book opened up my eyes to another level, and there is data to back everything. So if anyone ever tells you that, oh, men and women are equal, they're not, which we know, but there is literally data out there which tells people that everything in the world has been designed by men. Everything that a man does is one size fit for all, or everything that a man does is a human default thing, and whatever woman does is only applicable to women, or only women would want to know about it or would relate to it. So another simple example how everything that a man does is default or applies to both men and women is, maybe I ask a young boy and a young girl who are their favorite tennis stars. The both of them might say, "Oh, Nadal, oh, Roger Federer." But what are the chances of the young boy saying Serena Williams or Maria? There are chances of the young girl taking these female player names. But what are the chances of a young boy saying Serena Williams and not Federer or Andy Murray? That's what I mean about everything that a man does is default. All of the content that a man creates can be consumed by both men and women. But content created by women is majorly applied to women. And it's something that I also see in my YouTube dashboard. I talk about books that might interest both men and women, but I do have more female audience than male audience. This book will always be 100 on 10 in my list. And if you want to buy it, I'll add the link in my description box. Please gift it to as many men as you can, your guy friends, boyfriends, brothers, fathers, whoever might be interested. And honestly, if you're an entrepreneur or you work in the public works department, you might get so many ideas, because the book is literally filled with data gaps. And entrepreneurship is all about looking at gaps and how you can address them. So you might just get a lot of those ideas. Also, we need a lot of people to come in and reduce the gaps. And I'm so glad that Navya recommended this book. She has a very good mix of fiction and non-fiction in her reading list. If you want me to do a separate video on Navya's non-fiction recommendations, let me know and I'll do entirely separate video on it, because her recommendations really are great. They capture what young India might be thinking and feeling.
Editing the video and I just realized that I didn't film an outro like a dumb person. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.